Good morning, everybody. All right, lots of people joining. Well, ready for open enrollment. We are getting there. Last week or last month before it starts going. Kind of excited. It's been going really smooth at my office. That my staff keeps going, what's happening? Why is it going so well? We're getting ready for the renewal. So, which is what we're talking about today. So I'm just going to kind of show you my process, or at least tell you about my process. A little bit about what I used to do versus how we're doing it now with some of the CMS regulations. So I'm excited to share with you. Give it a couple seconds. Next week, I'm going to talk about doing classes, but also about recording YouTube videos. So it's to do a class or not to do a class is kind of the title, but it's really about the educational part. We do an in-person class that I started 3-4 years ago that has been widely successful, but I also do YouTube. I know not everybody has face-to-faces, so we'll talk about that next week. And then I'm going to talk about on the last one is kind of, I called it the potluck. So it's really about kind of any tip I can think of to give you. Any other questions that come through. I do kind of look at some of the Facebook stuff that's happening in those questions. So I've got some already that are about how to prospect, what to do when a drug isn't on the formulary, what ways do you touch your clients throughout the year, what are your hours during OAP, just some real random things, advice to tell your clients that I just learned over the years. And so that will be the October 26th will be kind of the final push. Again, anybody who's in my downline, you have kind of direct access to me so they get their questions answered a little faster. But all of you, feel free to message me on Facebook. I will do my best. I don't look at it during the day typically. It's usually after hours. So if it's an emergency, there's really no emergency. So December 15th is still not an emergency, just so you know. You can enroll people for 1/1 on December 16th. So there's no such thing as an emergency. You can always say to somebody, you know what, this is something a little tricky and I want to make sure I'm doing it correct, and just hold off. And just so you know, the trick for getting anybody for 1/1 after December 16th is you say their coverage is ending 12/31. It's not a lie. Everybody's marketplace plan is ending on 12/31. And it's a new one that starts on 1/1. So that's a trick I learned a long time ago before they actually kept the open enrollment through January 15th. So if you've got something that's tricky and you don't have to push buttons and, oh, I got to get this through, feel free to say this is a little bit trickier and I want to make sure it's correct. Whether you talk to me, whether you talk to your upline, if you want to send it out to the Marketplace Mastery group or Marketplace Training or whatever, there's all these different groups. It's okay to hold off on those tricky ones, but I will do my best to answer when I can get on Facebook. And then anything else you think of, in the next 2 weeks, just shoot me an email and I will add it to my potluck class that we're doing. So today is all about open enrollment, and this is really more about the renewals, a little bit about new people, but it's how do you handle the new people with your old people? Unlike Medicare, we're really Medicare people, and I've been saying this in some of my networking groups, they get tricked by the ads, right? They think they're in a good plan, but then they start seeing that ad over and over and over and over again. So then the ads are meant to make them call, right? So then they call some call center and it's Anthem Blue Cross and they're like, yes, call us and we'll evaluate to see if you're in the right plan. Well, of course, Blue Cross is not evaluating to see if they're in the right plan, right? They have a 7 minutes. We want to sell every 7 minutes. So they shouldn't really touch you. You should reach out to your Medicare people and go, if you like what you have, it's good. It's a good plan. Remember why you signed up for it. Unless there's major changes in your plan or your prescriptions, you're good. You don't have to do a renewal. On the Marketplace, many people have just let people do the renewals, and it's not the same. You really do need to touch your current clients. Even if you're touching your current clients to say, you need to do this, And here's your reason why. So right now, in the month of October, this week, if you haven't already, you should be reaching out to your current clients. So you have a perfect excuse to reach out to your current clients. You have the new CMS regulations that you need to follow. So right now, the first thing is to reach out to all your current clients. Remember what the things I've told you before, you can always blame the government. I need a new consent form from you. The government's requiring this in their wording. Now, we've always had consent forms, and so we've had to tell people, yes, you've given us consent, but we need it now in the wording that the government has given us. So you can send out the consent form. You can send it by text. It's really easy. You can send it out by paper for those, we have quite a few. We live in a rural area that the technology is scary. We've sent it out to them. They've mailed it back, and we're getting those now. Don't wait for open enrollment. There's nothing that says you have to wait till you're actually doing 2024 stuff to get that consent. Get it now. You're done. You don't have to worry about it at all. The consent form is really easy. I've sent it out to a lot of people. I still think, I have it somewhere. I still think it's rather interesting. All these agents are saying, does anybody have a copy of the consent form? CMS does. I'm just sending you the CMS doc. Their consent form is really, really simple. The one I used to have was 2 pages, front and back. Like, you know, this is how what I'm gonna do with your information and all this stuff. So don't make it complicated. I think what's happening is we want the government to tell us, here's our box and this is the rules, and you cannot go out of this box with these rules and regulations. A lot like Medicare, right? Medicare, it's very black and white. This is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And they're not. And the more you ask them, the more confusing you're gonna get. Stop asking for that. Personally, I would rather they didn't have a box. If you read what the rules say, it says our intent is, 1, to show that you, the agent, have permission from the client. That's their intent. So your permission, you know, if it's not perfect, it's okay. And it says, here's what we want. We want consent, and you must include these 4 things that are pretty simplistic. How you get it, up to you. Just get it before you start the application. So you don't have to get it to talk to them, not like a scope of appointment. You don't have to get it to give them quotes. I had somebody that, it was a quick phone call. Can I afford this health insurance? And I said, you know what, let me just run you a quick quote. Date of birth, boom. Zip code, boom. What's your estimated income? He tells it to me and I go, all right, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at a range from this to this. And he's like, really, that's all? Well, we should do this. And I said, yes, we should. Let's make an appointment. I'm gonna send you the paperwork. Now I need the consent, right? Now I need that consent. And he was in a last minute phone call, so we actually scheduled an appointment. You don't have to get consent before you talk to them. When they're like, oh my goodness, this is really affordable. All right, before I can run the application, I need permission to do this. We have had 0 pushback. A couple times they're like, Mary, don't we do this anyways? And we go, yeah, new government regulations. And everybody goes, oh yeah, government regulations. So I'm doing that right now. Every current client is getting consent. So if you have a current client, just send it now, just get it out. And I am gonna show you some people, there's all different kinds. I mean, there's lots of places you can go to do this. We are using Form Doctor. I really like this company. I like the way it works. I've been, they will customize the form for you. You don't have to do it for 20 bucks. 100% worth it. I'm like, dude. So we don't even attempt now to customize it ourselves. We just go, here it is. So I'm going to share my screen really quick just to kind of show you what the Form Doctor looks like. This is all of our forms. So we've got fillable medical intake form, the new client prescription forms, the income form, consent and review forms, the intake packet, which is actually all of these forms, an open enrollment packet, self-renewal packet with the consent form, self-renewal with the intake form, self-renewal with CMS and intake, and OEP not comfortable. So it's only their income form. These are the people that want to come see us. And they're not comfortable doing it themselves. So we took our forms, the intake form, the prescription form, the income, consent review, and we actually have the attestation form on here as well. And we made them into forms that we can either email, we can text it, and we can also copy the link, which if you saw my assistant a couple weeks ago, you can just copy this link and then go into your texting application. You don't have to you don't have to text it from this foreign number, right? You can send it from your texting app. You can send it from your phone because now you're sending the link. So you can just say, hey, I need your intake form for 2024. Boom, copy the link, send it. It's very easy to fill on a phone, on a tablet. If they go, oh, I don't really like doing it on the phone, can I email it? Yep, you can send it either way. You can send it right from here. We can send and receive. I don't want to show it just because it shows clients' names, but it's a quick send. At the top, it just says the name of the person. That you drop down to pick which form you're sending it. You type in the date of an appointment, or there is a way to just send it without the appointment date, and then it's just a simple text, and they click the link. And then it's here, and then we get them here, and we download them to our CRM, and we attach them to the people. Our CRM is Agency Block. They're going to be doing this for us next year, but for now, we've got Form Doctor. So it's very inexpensive. I've got, I think, 4 people that have accounts because I've got the assistants, and I have probably 5. And it's really not that expensive. So formdoctor.com is the one I use. I know there's Jot Forms. There's a lot out there now. It doesn't matter what you do, but this is easy. So send it now. Send your intake form. Now, I don't know, I've showed these before, but of course I know there's new people that get on there. This is what my income form looks like. I created a fillable intake form. I just send it out to them. We send this to our new clients and current clients. And I send out and I go, if you would like me to update your application, you need to send this and send it back to me. And with this, I've sent the consent form. That's what I sent. They send it back. Well, there's the proof of the income. I didn't fill it out. I never fill this out. That is 100% on the client. They have to tell me what they are making. Okay, so, we sent it out now and we were getting those things back right and left. It's been really smooth. And then we kind of tell people we're going to do them in the order that we receive them. So the first people who sent it back are going to be the first ones to get their quote. I'm also going to send them the link through Health Sherpa, the renewal link. On November 1st, I'm going to walk in this door into my office. I'm going to log into Health Sherpa, and it's really easy. There's a button that says send it to all of them. You click it. It will highlight every single one of your clients, and then you send the renewal link. Anybody who does the renewal themselves, you don't need consent necessarily, though I would get it. Just get it so that you can mess with it during the year, and they don't have to do the attestations. I don't have to have that form because they're doing it themselves. So I'm telling them, if you want me to help you, send me the intake form, but I'm still going to send them the renewal link, because even though sometimes people are like, oh, I don't really know what to do. Hey, if they do it, hey, that's going to make it easier on you. So then that's my intake form. We send that out to everybody, or the income form. We do send an intake form that's a little bit different for our current people. Let's see if I actually have it. There it is. So we have, it's a little bit more work to do than a new person. But to me, the more work I do on my end, at the front end, the less work I have to do. So this is what we send to people who are current clients. We put their name up here. We say to email. Now it could be to you, it could be to an assistant. We just, who do I mail it to? Or mail form, and we put the, next step. There's no income restrictions. The cost of the plan is more than 8.5% of your income. You're going to get it. If you need advice, please see an accountant. And then we go check the box if there's no changes for people enrolling. Click. Check the box if there's no change in your income, and then we write what their estimated income was. So last year you told us it was 45,000. They see this and then they check the box. Preferred network, just because we want to make sure that we are still putting them in the right network. And this also helps for even when they do their own renewal. Sometimes they sign up for the cheapest plan and then you're like, this isn't even your network. So this is just for me to double check. We ask them, is your network doctor or premiums cost more important? And if they know anything else. And if they're done, that's it. They just send it to us. That's easy, right? Or they come down here and they don't check that everything's staying the same and they fill out the information. So it's a slight variation of the income document that we send to everybody that's new. This is the variation for returning people. Now I do have an assistant. You can certainly hire somebody for a temp. You know what? I need somebody to fill all this paperwork out for me. Hire them for a couple of hours and, you know, show them where where they can do this income. It's worth it, because then the client doesn't have to think. Because if you just say, are you making the same as last year? They will go, yep. But they don't remember what they said their income was. It was a year ago. So that's what I send out to every current client. I'm assuming everybody's going to renew with me. So just assume that it's on there. And send that out to everybody. So that goes to my current clients with the assumption that they're renewing with me. Now, if somebody doesn't send anything back, I do reach out. The last week of December, or not last week, but the last week of open enrollment, so right before the 15th, we go through our spreadsheet and we look, who are we missing? Give them a phone call, shoot them an email, send them a text. But assume they're all going to renew with you. If they are somebody who is I need help, right? So they filled out this income form and they sent it back to me. Now I'm going to send them options. It may even be your best option is to stay with what you have. If you would like me to continue that enrollment, fill this form out and we send the attestations. We simply copied and pasted them. I agree, disagree, I agree, disagree, I agree, disagree. All of those attestations at the end of the application, which I sent out a couple of weeks ago, I'll send it again. And again, I can send this through Form Doctor, a link on the email I'm sending them, or we have those people who don't have computers, we actually mail it to them with their, what's the option do you want? You have to send back this attestation. Now, I have gotten the consent and the attestations before I've even touched their application. The government is giving us a lot of leeway. I mean, and if I'm sitting at home at 3 o'clock in the morning and I have my stack of folders and then there's their intake form, all right, and there's their attestation form. Now I go in and I update their application. I have the consent and I have the attestation and they're at 2 different times. Now with Form Doctor, we actually have been sending some that has consent listed with their intake forms, their income and intake, the attestation form, as well as consent. It's actually time stamped. So some of you remember where it says it could be on the same form, you just have to show that it was a different timestamp. Guess what? It's a different timestamp. They went online when the form that we sent them, they filled out their intake form to make sure that, you know, they haven't moved. They filled out their income form, they clicked consent, and they went through the attestation form, agreeing or disagreeing, and it timestamps it. So on Form Doctor, you can have it send the timestamp. Well, there you go. I got my consent, my attestations. They sent me the income form, right? I didn't make this income form up myself. They sent it to me. There's my 2 different timestamps. If CMS audits me, there is no way they're going to say nobody knew what was happening. That's all CMS wants to see, that you know what the income is and the client knows what the income was listed. They understand how it works if their income is different or things change, and that you, the agent, have consent. That's all they want. So figure out how to do that. And it says, in the best way that works for your company. I don't want them to dictate this. I'm like, oh my goodness, please don't add any more rules. This is fine. Think outside the box. What works best for your company? If you're a face-to-face person, have a stack of them sitting right there. At the end of every application that we do, whether they do it and select their own plan, or whether we do it and select their plan, we also send them one more document. And I've showed you guys this before, and I'm going to show it again because I think this is the other proof that we have done it. Oh, got another person coming in. For your records. And I have been doing this honestly since the beginning. I have never, I don't know, for years and years and years, I have been doing this. This is the For Your Records document. I put in the family name information for their 2024's application ID number, the household income that they told me or that they did themselves on when they redo the renewals, the tax credit they're gonna get, the insurance company they're signed up with, the premium they're going to pay, the customer service number. I leave the member number blank usually. Melina's the FFM subscriber ID. Melina will use that, but nobody else does. So I usually typically leave that blank, but then they can fill that in. Due date of the premium, unless I see that it's been paid, then I will say not applicable, paid, and I put the date, the policy effective date, if there's documents requested, and when those documents are the date that they're due. And did they pay the first month premium? Yes or no? Did I set up auto pay for them? Yes or no? If they did it themselves, I don't really know. I leave it blank. And then I send this out by email or by, and we save this, and I send it to them by email or we mail it to them. So I have the consent. I got that now. I mean, I don't know if we have any current clients that don't have it, and if we don't get it from them, we're going to say, I need this consent form. We send out the attestation form, or they self-renew it, and then I don't have to worry about it. And I send this to everybody. Everybody gets this. So again, CMS is not going to come back and say your clients didn't know what was happening. Remember what CMS is doing, why CMS is doing this. The no-call agents, the ones who were tricking people and signing people up at the 14,000, the cheapest thing, the lowest income they could, and then in very tiny small print saying it's up to you to update your income. They weren't even putting social security numbers in there. They were just signing people right and left. Are you doing that? No. Show that your client reached out to you. On our consent form, I will say on the CMS consent form, I did add a line that says, and you're giving me continued permission to update, edit, or adjust your application as you ask me. So when somebody calls you, emails you, well, especially email, they email you and they go, hey, I moved. Hey, I made different income. Okay, I don't have to send out that consent form again because it's on there. They gave me consent and I have proof that they asked me to do this. So they've asked me to update their income. We record our phone calls. All right, so they've asked me to do it. I've recorded the phone call. They send me an email. I'm syncing that to my CRM. And then I'm emailing them back going, all right, I did what you asked me to do. Here's the results, whatever that is. And then I, put that in the CRM. And I don't have to get the consent form because I actually put that in my consent form. And then it's showing that there was an exchange. They asked me to do something. So those of you who have had clients stolen, I have not had that happen too often. Wisconsin doesn't pay a lot, so they're not trying to steal my clients, but it has happened. So I had a young lady who's been my client for years, and then she lost coverage and whatnot. And I'm guessing she probably went online on Facebook and she might have filled something out, but it wasn't intentional. She had no idea she got insurance. She finally got a new job and was making income and wasn't going to get her Badger Care. And she comes in to talk to me to turn her insurance back on. And I'm like, did you know you have Anthem Blue Cross? And she's not an Anthem Blue Cross person. She would never, that would never be her thing. And she's like, no, she didn't know anything about it. So I go in, I put in her income the way I should, I adjust her tax credit the way I should, we pick the right plan, and then I put a note. There's a client, there's an agent on here that she doesn't know who it is. She's never heard of him. Sure enough, he went in there and changed it. Now he does not have consent. He doesn't have proof. I do. The woman was in my office. So I found him, I called his number, he was in California, and I got a voicemail. And I said, hi, my name is Christina George. I'm an insurance agent in Wisconsin. And my client, so-and-so, you have taken her out of the plan that I enrolled her in, and she was in my office. I have her signature on my consent form. I have the attestation proof. And unless you can show me something otherwise, please don't touch her application again. Here's my number, 920-268-160. I gave her my office number and I said, if there's any questions or you have a form, because I'm not going to assume he's lying or cheating or whoever, if you have the form, please show me that it has a date that is since mine. Of course, he didn't call. but I'm gonna check again right before next month to see if he goes in there and touches it. The whole point of this now is that now we can actually report those people. They are now doing something unethical, sure, but now it's actually against the rules. It wasn't before because those rules didn't exist. I know there's some people who would think that CMS didn't do enough, and I'm like, you know what? This is fine. The more rules and regulations is going to be horrible. We can now report them. You can report them to CMS, sure. Their state insurance people is probably going to get a job done faster. But I will, if this person, this gentleman in California, and I looked him up and I couldn't find him on anywhere. He's an agency, but if he does it, I am going to report him to the California Insurance Commissioner, which those guys tend to move pretty fast on insurance agents. I mean, they're motivated to do that, and CMS. We can now start saying this person isn't just doing something unethical, they're actually doing it against the rules. All right. Next part that I do. So once I get them in there, see what I'm doing at. Okay. You can separate your current clients. We have started keeping track of people who are comfortable doing it themselves and people who aren't. Now, people are wired, believe it or not, we are wired to help people. So you can say to your clients who like you, I'm just asking you to help me with one thing. Will you please update your application? I'm going to send you the renewal link. All of your information is already in there. I already entered your name, you know, all that pertinent, your name, your social security, your date of birth, your address. And I would just like you to just go in there and make sure it's still correct. The more people you can get to do that, the better. It's going to make you go faster, more efficient. And then you tell them if your current plan still exists, and you know, because most of them do, but if your current plan still exists and you like the rate, you can click enroll and you are done. Now, Health Sherpa sends you as the agent an email that tells you this has been done. I would, if you've got time during the day, you can do this, but if you don't have time during the day, you can do it kind of after hours. Go through those and check. Hey, Bob. So then I send an email to Bob. Hi, Bob. It looks like you did your application to Health Sherpa. Everything looks great. Because you can quickly just click that button, you know, that says, you know, update application, and you can look through it really quick, make sure there's nothing odd sticking out. And it's like, it looks like the application was done, looks great. And you picked the, you know, the same plan you had before. Everything's great. You're good to go. And then I attach that for your records document that I showed you, that I just showed you. Now they did all the hard work, but you're their backup telling them they were in the right plan. Or they're in the wrong plan, right? They're in the wrong network. Or a lot of times they're overwhelmed. There's so many options and they don't want to bother you. It's amazing to me how many of my clients are like, oh, I didn't want to bother you. And I'm like, this is the reason, this is the time to bother me. It's okay to bother me. And they just picked a cheap plan. They just saw there was 300 options and they're like, oh my goodness, it's overwhelming. And they just kind of went, and they just picked a plan. So you can certainly in those emails go, hey, I saw you did the application. It looks great. But I also saw that you enrolled in, you know, Bob Smith's insurance for $0. But did you know for just $50 more, you could have a plan with no deductible? Or, you know, $25 more, we can put you in the silver plan where the max out of pocket is $3,000 versus $9,000, right? You can say that. And I would say 99% of the clients that I do that to go, oh, thank you. Yes, please. And it takes you 13 seconds. You can just go in there and go switch plans, boop, and it's done. And then I go right back to that email that said, yes, please change me. I reply back to them, all right, it's done. Here's your premium amount. And I attach that form. CMS cannot say that I didn't have consent and that my client didn't know what was happening. That's all they want. Just kind of keep that in your mind. They just want to make sure that you were given permission and that your client knows what's happening. So I ask your clients, please do me a favor. All I need is to do that. I will help you find the right plan. That's what you're really good at. If you did the first appointment appropriately, you explained what the tax credit was, you explained why you're entering this information and that it's not 2023's information, it's 2024. And, you know, or you can even remind them, hey, remember, please fill out this application with 2024 information. You don't have to redo all of that. You go, and then I'm the expert on the plans. I'm going to go through there and I'm going to show you what the right plan is, especially if their plan is changing. in any kind of significant way. We have a plan that 90% of, well, 70% of our clients are in, where the copay for primary care doctor and chiropractor is $15 right now. And it's going to change. So we're going to tell them all, hey, I know last year it was $15 copay and now it's going to be 50, but the physical therapy copay was 200, is now going to be 100, you know, and so we're going to point those things out, but it's still the best plan. Because if you don't tell them about these changes, but that it's still a good plan, they're going to start searching and they may just go into a completely wrong plan. So show them you're the expert. You don't want them to become the expert on health insurance. I mean, that's why we have jobs. So that's what I do. I go through during the day, I'm meeting people in person, I'm doing phone call or Zoom appointments, and then at night, I'm taking all of the forms that I got. My assistant will have them in this lovely folder. And I'm either, if they've already sent me the attestations and we know what plan they're doing, we enroll them in that. Or I'm going through people who did it themselves, either the application themselves or enrolled themselves. And I'm going to do all of that. The two things, the one thing I kind of want you to look at, your current clients, is anybody in your current clients a couple that's one of them's turning 65 next year in 2024. This is one of my tricks of the trade that I have learned, and it has helped so much. If you have somebody who is going to be turning 65 in a couple, right? Not if it's by themselves, that's fine. If it's a couple, quote them with just the one person on the plan. Let them pick the plan at the higher cost, because then they're okay with the cost. They go, yeah, all right, $300 for that great $0 deductible plan. Great. And then you go, I got some good news. You're going to get a 6-month discount while you're both on the plan. It's only going to cost you $200. Then it's a bonus that there's 2 of them on there, as opposed to, hey, it's costing $200. And then 6 months later, you call them and you go, okay, I took, you know, spouse number, you know, 1 off, he's on Medicare now, and now your rate's $300. And they're just like, what? Why is that? How is that happening? You know, that doesn't seem right. There's less people. Why is it costing more? And then you have this like, and they're mad and they budgeted for 200 and now you're going to tell them it's 300 for the rest of the year. Start with the higher number. So this is one of my tricks of the trade. When somebody's turning 65 in 2024, quote them at one person. You know, a household of 2 and the income, but then only one person's on the plan. It saves so much headache. And of course, there'll be a few people who will forget. And then you'll be telling them, hey, it just went from 200 to 300. And they'll go, why? And I go, remember you had that bonus. The oldest person who had more tax credit was on your plan. Now they're gone. And they go, oh yeah, that's right. I kind of make a joke. Now we know he's worth $100. She's worth $100. The silver plan, if you're in that silver plan, it's not more expensive. Typically, the second cheapest silver stays exactly the same. Remember, it's a percentage. And if they're in more expensive silver plans or more expensive gold plans, it actually can go down. But if they're in those bronze plans, it's going to go up. It just saves a headache. So quote them at 1. All right. All right, I see I've got some questions, and I did see one that just popped up. No, you cannot see 2024 rates, but the carriers have their plans. They're doing the training right now. You can kind of see what the plans are from your carriers. You cannot see the rates. You will see the rates the same time everybody else in the world sees the rates. Usually the last week in October. 1 year it did come out a little bit earlier. The 1 year it was October 30th. It was 2 days before open enrollment. So a little background on how that works. So they have to submit their rates by a certain date. It's fairly early. It's like July, right? So the carriers are working on rates as soon as open enrollment's over. They're working on those rates. They have to submit it by July. CMS does whatever CMS is going to do. They take their sweet time, and then they put out the rate changes for counties. And you can go to the marketplace right now, and you can see the rate changes for carriers who are currently in your state and your county. If they're new to the state and county, there's no information. Well, the carriers see that too. So let's just say carrier 1, Blue Cross, and carrier 2, a home, you know, ours is Common Ground, just a little co-op. They can go to healthcare.gov, to that CMS thing, and see those rate changes as well. And they can go, ooh, Blue Cross raised theirs like 20%. and ours was only 8. Maybe we should raise ours up a little bit more. Blue Cross can go, ooh, wow, we raised ours too high. We're 20% across the board, or 16 to 18%, and nobody else is that high. Maybe we should lower it. A new carrier for our state, it's United Healthcare, can show up. They can look at all of those rate changes and they can go, we're going to come in cheaper than everybody, because it's pretty easy to see. They can go, okay, in Sheboygan County or Bob's County, they can look at what Anthem sold last year, add the percentage, and go, this is what we're expecting their average rate to be, and we want to come in cheaper. So after those rates are released, the insurance companies can change it. So even those rate increases that we saw, they can adjust. They're not set in stone. Everybody gets this last chance to jockey around and try and be where they are. So it's an estimate. It's a good idea to kind of see. We have a carrier who's, man, whew, their rate increase was significantly more than others. So we're like, all right, we might have to move some of the people in that plan. But really, it doesn't matter until you see the rates. November 1st is when they are official. Nothing can be changed after November 1st. I've seen it change a little bit on October 25th to the November 1st. Not much, it's not like it's drastic, but I always tell people it's not real till November 1st. So you can see them as soon as your client can see them. And if you have intake forms, you already have people's stuff, I can start sending out quotes. I can go, okay, last year it was this for you. This year it's going to be the same rate, or it's going up $100, or it's going down $100, or here's some other options. I can start sending that out on October 25th, or as soon as we have that information. It's kind of nice to know the carriers, what the plans are, and what they've changed, but really it'll come down to the cost, right? I mean, there's a few that don't care what the cost is. They need that carrier because it covers their doctor. But a good chunk of people, if their doctor's insurance is now $300 a month more, they're going, can you give me another option? So as soon as those rates are out, as soon as you can get on there, you can start sending quotes. Now they can't enroll, can't actually do anything until November 1st. Lori, do I send out the income form to returning clients to you guys? Yep, I'll send that out. I'll send everything I just showed you, I will include. Jill, when we have a list, when we have to list the employer's phone number, is that absolutely necessary? Yep. It's of all the employer stuff, that one is not optional. Everything else about the employer is optional. Now, IRS doesn't care. I think that whole phone number thing is funny. As far as I know, nobody's called it. So let's just say Bob said he worked for John Smith's car insurance, and next year he works for, Toro lawnmowers, but he didn't tell you that there was a change, and so he just told you his income was different. Okay, the IRS isn't going to go, hey, on this application you said that was Bob Smith's insurance, but you really work for Toro. They don't really care. It's just that if somebody decides to call and say, do you offer health insurance to Bob? So you have to include a phone number. I do Google. I can search a Google faster than somebody can pull up their phone and try and give it to me. So as long as they give me the name of the company, but you do have to include that, but nothing else. Don't add anything else. Don't add their address. Don't ask anything else. If it says optional, you don't really have to do it. Can I send you the form of the attestation? Yep, I will. Everything I kind of talked about. But you can create it yourself. You don't have to use mine. You certainly can, because why reinvent the wheel? But all I did was copy and paste. At the end of the application, just copied and stuck it in a Word document. Natasha, I am new to the class. Can you send the consent form? Yep, I will send that. I'll send the CMS one. You can add to those consent forms. The CMS one says, this is the bare minimum. Just make sure you include this. Our consent forms would have worked except for one thing. We didn't put that this was a forever consent and how to rescind the consent. And CMS is saying you need to tell them how they can say, I don't want you to be my agent anymore. Oh, okay. So all of our consents weren't technically good enough because we never had that on there. Well, all right. So now I tell them they can tell it to us by written or verbal. If they don't want me to be their agent, I'm not keeping them hostage. Brian, the consent is confusing to me as well. It is confusing, but think simple. They want 2 separate timestamps, or they just don't want it at the same time. They're trying to get around the no-call agents. That's what they're trying to get around, where they're gonna go, well, they clicked a button. It does say, just clicking a button isn't good enough. They need those attestations. So I just copied them. And I even copied the agree, disagree. So really simple. Send the consents right now. Do not wait. Get your current clients to sign it. Send a mass text from your texting company. If you send it from Form Doctor, they don't necessarily know what that is, right? They're like, who is this phone number? And they think it's spam, because in the world of spam right now. Send it by email. Send out a telephone blast. There's a call fire. You can actually send a voice recording to everybody all at once. And I go, this is Chris, this is a voice recording. I'm going to send you a text message for consent. Yes, you've given me permission, but now the government is requiring it slightly different. Look for it, it's coming from, you know, whatever, and you can send it. Get that now, just get those now. It doesn't say you have to do it 13 seconds before you do the application. And then the attestation, what it says is you have to get they have to have basically saying that they understand the attestations before you submit the application. It doesn't say you have to do it in the middle of the application. Now, I do a lot of face-to-faces. I can have a document sitting right next to me, and I'm gonna hand them the this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hand them that document while I'm doing the application, and I have a screen. They can see what I'm doing. I always have a screen facing them, and I'm gonna read it, and then I'm gonna explain what it means, and they're gonna, on the piece of paper, agree, disagree, and then they're gonna sign the piece of paper, and I'm gonna type their name on the application. Now, if it's a long distance thing, you know, it's an email thing, I can go, here's my quote, here's my options for you. And they're like, that one sounds great, let's sign up, what can I do? And I go, well, here's the attestation document. I need you to read these, agree, and send it back by email, by text. So kind of think, they need those 2 forms. So how do I get those 2 forms? It doesn't say you have to do it in the middle of the application. So get ahead of time. And John, can you please send me a copy of the attestation forms? Yep, that'll be in there. Jill, so you are emailing, calling them prior to hitting the renewal option on Health Sherpa, correct? We have emailed them all. Actually, no, we haven't emailed them. I don't even know if we're gonna do an email blast because people don't read emails. We have done a text blast to everybody. And in our text, it says, this is why we're doing this. Here's the income form. I mean, we kind of explain what we're doing. The people who haven't responded by November 1st, I'm gonna do a call blast. I will do that massive just phone, you know, here's my message. And people listen to messages. Now, yeah, there's some people who never do and their voicemails are full, but that's pretty small. They don't always answer calls, but I do, you know, they'll listen to a voicemail, which is great. My voicemail's like, and make sure if you do a call blast, you say, this is Chris, this is a recorded call, a recorded message. So if somebody live does answer, they don't start trying to talk to you. So I always say, this is Chris, this is a recorded message. And then, so everybody who hasn't gotten it, I'm gonna say, we sent out a text message asking for updated income. If you didn't get that, call me. If you would like me to email it, call, you know, send me a text message or whatever. So that'll be, you know, kind of our second wave, but start getting it now. Talk to them. And then I also say, I'm going to send out a renewal link on November 1st. Now, I've had the same clients for a long time. My 2 agents, one, this is his first open enrollment. So now last year was easy for him. It was all new people. This is his first year to have renewals, right? And what I have noticed over the years is the first year it's somebody's renewal, those are the ones you have to hold their hands. Those are the ones you have to walk them through what's happening because they're nervous. This is their first time. They don't want to mess up. My clients, I only have 26 people on my books right now. Yet my guys, they're almost already packed because they've been through this with me. So it's the first year people that you typically have to kind of go, okay, this is how we're doing it. During your appointments, start prepping them for new people. During your new appointment, new client appointments, when you're enrolling them, this is my other tip, start prepping them for how you're gonna handle open enrollment. In my appointment, I go, okay, you saw me do the application. So for open enrollment, all you have to do is log in and make sure all this information is correct. I'm gonna send you a link. It's pretty easy. You saw me, the information's already there. You don't even have to change anything unless you decide to get younger and change your birth date. And they kind of laugh. I'm like, and then, make sure the income's still the same and hit submit. And if your plan is looking great, you still like it, you can just enroll. If you're not sure, that's fine. You did the part that I need you to help me with. You did the application, and then I will help you find the right plan. So I'm telling them this every appointment. Oh, do I need to come see you? Nah, no reason for you to take time out of your day to come see me. I mean, I like seeing you, but hey, this will take 5 minutes. So I'm telling them in the first appointment how I'm going to handle them for renewals year after year. But they're still nervous, right? Though I have a client who, one of my agents has a client who's told them that they will be here on the first Monday after Thanksgiving until they turn 65. Because they like to see you. All right. You will have clients that want to see you or want to talk to you on the phone. Don't begrudge those people. Those are your diehards. They're going to be your clients for life. And if you sell Medicare or your agency sells Medicare, they want to be with you. But plenty of people, my goal every year is to get 10% that needs me to hold their hand or less, which means 80 to 90% don't need me to hold their hand, but I still want them to know I'm there for them. I'm still looking at what they did. And even if they did it right, you're like, great job, you did it right. They're not going to go, well, I did it right, I don't need you. They're like, all right, she's still looking out for me. So don't worry about that. So Arlene, we have no networks in Florida. You need to input the doctors and hospitals for each person in order to see what's different. I know, it's still a network. It's still, what hospital do you go to? That's a network. A hospital isn't going to have some doctors in one, some in another. And then you learn, when you hear the same doctor's name over and over again, you kind of know which insurance they do. Are we able to see 2024 plans? Yep. So you can see them from the carriers. The plans are out there, the type, what it's going to look like. You just won't be able to see the rates yet. Yep, Florida's different. And I understand that's one reason I don't really like selling stuff in Florida, because I mean, I have some clients in Florida, but they moved from Wisconsin to Florida. I do not advertise in Florida. I'm not trying to get new clients in Florida. I say, well, you know what? I know you as a person, and I'm going to pick what plan looks good. But after this, you might want to have a local person, because it's weird. Florida's weird. So is Texas. They're all weird, right? I mean, learn your state. That's why I'm the Wisconsin expert. I will never claim to be an expert in North Carolina, Texas, or Georgia, or anywhere else I sell. I'm an expert in Wisconsin, and there's plenty of business right here. But then I don't advertise online. I'm not doing that. That's just not my style. There's plenty of successful agents who do. I'm a local. And I got local people that are calling me, and they're not local. They're just Wisconsin. They're 7 hours away, but they've heard that I know Wisconsin. They've got their sister, their mother, their friend who works with me. Lori, if you have someone who's already older and on Medicare, do you still put them on the quote? You put them in the household. So your quote, if there's a 62-year-old and a 67-year-old, you put the 62-year-old, you put that person's name, date, or their zip code and their birth date, and then it says household, you do 2. So remember, it's always the household. So you're putting them in the quote, you're just not actually putting their age. You're just making sure it's a household of 2. And if you're not sure how to do that, I have a very simple, I think it's like 10 minutes long video on YouTube that walks people. I made it for my clients, how to do their Health Sherpa renewals. I just walk them right through it. So if you're like, okay, how do I do this? That's how you can do it. Jill, yes, that's what I'm getting. I have a few that have multiple jobs, and I don't see the necessity of listing 12 jobs. Can I simply use money from income or self-employment? You can. I typically don't do self-employment though, because that one makes you divide it by 12. You can't just put a yearly, and you have to put it why they're doing it. But if they've got 3 jobs, well, which one do you work at the most? And I just put 1. Because again, the IRS isn't comparing. You can do investment. That's my go-to. Again, the IRS is not looking at the line item on this application. They don't care how you line item it. Did it? Is that even a word? I don't even know. They're only looking at the total. They don't say, how did you get $20,000 on your application? And that doesn't match how you got $20,000 on your return. They just go, oh, it's 20. Good. We're good to go. The one that can be kind of tricky is Social Security, because Social Security and healthcare.gov do actually talk. So if somebody says I make $1,273 from Social Security, and it will compare. It'll actually go, yep, that's what they make. But if they're like, oh, I don't know, I think I make $1,200, and you just put 1,200, it's gonna ask for proof of income. Almost always, this is again, years and thousands of applications. If you're putting in somebody's Social Security and it requests proof of income, it's because that Social Security amount is incorrect. Why the system's not smart enough to just go, hey, Bob, boop, autofill the Social Security, I don't know. So that's the only one that they kind of are keeping an eye on. When you are saying that you attach the attestation to the consent form, it's not attached, it's just another form. So when on that form doctor, we send out a packet. We have their intake form, which is their Social Security, their birth dates, their address, because it's amazing how many people will move and never tell you, their income form, the consent form, and the attestation form. So we are attaching 4 forms, or sometimes 3 or whatever we need. We also created that form, the attestation form, as a simple text. So an example of when I needed to do that was a young 19-year-old lost his insurance from his dad, and he needed it in like 2 days. And I couldn't get him on the phone, and it was by email. So I was like, okay, this is the quote. I got the consent from him. I'm like, I cannot do this. Mom was trying to be sneaky and do it for him. I'm like, no, he's an adult. So he signed the consent form. I said, all right, I'm going to go in and enroll you, but I need you to read these attestations. And I just texted him the attestation form. He clicked yes, signed his name, sent it back, and I enrolled him. So you can do these quickly. And if you're on the phone with somebody and you go, all right, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to send you this attestation right now. Well, you can't. Or record it. Again, if you do phone calls, just record it. Then you don't have to do this. For those working in Walmart with the Allstate, you can get the consent form signed prior to working with them. And if they can't do it on site, you can do it remotely. Yep. And the attestation. Say, now, if you're going to have an appointment with them, you don't have to get the attestation ahead of time, but you certainly could. But then that means you're going to sit there and talk to them and explain to them what the tax credit means and why, outside of doing the application. So if they've got time, if they're like, all right, you know what, this sounds great. You show them the plans and they're like, yes, this is the plan I want. You explain them, okay, this is the income. And they're like, okay, I just want to make sure, and I want to talk to my wife before I do this, or my husband. Sure, have them fill out the attestations ahead of time. It doesn't say you have to do the attestations at that moment. Will it automatically renew if they don't check it? It will. I reach out to every single person who thinks they're going to do it, just let it auto renew. Usually that's what I'm doing on December 14th, 15th. And I go, hey, Cindy, I see you haven't updated it. Can I go in and update your application to make sure you're in the right tax credit and paying the right amount for your plan? Because remember, you could not be paying the correct amount and you'll have to owe the IRS. And I've only had a couple ever say, no. Oh, yeah, okay. And then I go do it. I don't change anything. I go, okay, your income was this. We're leaving it the same. Yeah, they're the same. I don't like letting people auto renew. That's how they end up owing the wrong tax credit back. That's how they end up in the wrong plans. So it will do it. I tell my people don't. In my first appointment with them, first time talking to them, again, I'm explaining how renewal is going to work. And I say, don't let it auto renew. Plans change and the tax credit changes. Tell them why, because the tax credit changes and you could be getting the completely wrong tax credit and have to pay money back. Or you're paying $300 for a plan when you don't need to. You could be paying $100. Oh, it hits them in the pocketbook. Viola, what link are you sending them to check their information? Is it your Health Sherpa link? Yes, I actually use the Health Sherpa renewal link. Now, those of you who might be using a different enrollment platform like Insura, I don't know how that renewal link works, but I'm sure it's the same. So at the end of in Health Sherpa, you'll see it. It's not there yet. As soon as you can send those renewal links, it'll be there. They do it a little early. I don't like sending the renewal link out till the 1st. I think it'll let you send it out like as soon as the plans are available, but then people think they can sign up and then they can't. They can kind of pick their plan, but then they have to go back in on the 1st and actually assign it. So I wait until November 1st. That you can simply push one button and it will select every single person that you have and you can send. And I think if I remember correctly, they changed it so you can even add a customized message. It gives them individual emails. So when they click on it, it takes them to their Health Sherpa account. Liz, I just received a letter from our carrier telling me the plan will not be available for next year, asking the client to go to their website. Yeah. Do you choose any suggestions not to lose the client to the carrier? Reach out to them. You're the expert. Everybody who's in that plan, I would be calling them, sending them an email or sending them a text. Hi, Susie. Hi, Bob. You are enrolled in such and such plan with Blue Cross or whoever, United Healthcare, whatever it is. And that plan will not be available next year. And we don't want the carrier to enroll you in a random plan that may not be a right fit for you. So let's talk. Make sure give me an updated income document. Would you like me to, help you find the right plan? Because they're going to roll them into a plan that may or may not be right for them. Can you just send a text for the attestations and have them agree by text instead of going to do an online form? Yeah, that's how we send it. It's a text. And they have to click agree or disagree, agree or disagree. And then they sign their name and date it. I don't believe you need to do anything attestations wise as far as states, because every state's different. You just have to do what the state says. But I can see the states following this, going, oh, that's a good idea. There's not as much issues with the no calls in the state-run exchanges. Doesn't mean they won't start adding some rules, right? Does the renewal require a new application, and do we get paid for that? Sorry, dumb question, haven't done the app yet, just got certified. Hey, not a dumb question, that's absolutely great. It is a new application. The renewal, the system will automatically create a renewal application. So every year they get a new application from the federal marketplace. And so on December 16th, anybody who hasn't gotten actually renewed their application and picked a new plan is automatically renewed. And it's given a new application number. And if nothing, if you let it happen and the person signs up and they're still with Blue Cross or United or Bob's, Health Insurance of West Virginia, you will still be the agent and you still get paid. There are a couple carriers that will do a slightly less when it's a renewal, but that's going away. I don't see that as much. It's a new application, it's a new year. If you were getting $30 last year per month, you're getting $30 this year, so yes, you still get paid. I'm assuming you have clients owe money to the IRS for the subsidy, maybe in a large amount. How do you handle that? And what did you say when you heard from the client? So they recently kicked back in. Good question, Ben. So we're right at the top of the hour. Remember at the end of the attestation and are you going to file taxes? This is in the application. They have to say yes, they're going to file taxes. So they have to file taxes to prove that the income on the application, whatever that was, is the income when they repart. If they owe money back, they have reconciled it. Okay, they did their taxes and the IRS said, hey, you had a different income and now you owe us whatever that is. Your client, if they can't just pay it off, should set up a payment program. And then they're fine. They're happy. The IRS is like, we're being paid. And you can go in next year and click the attestation that yes, you have filed, you're going to, and it's fine, and they'll still get the tax credit. But there are some people that didn't file taxes. So you'll go in there and you'll say, yes, I'm gonna file, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll get a tax credit, usually in January. And then I've seen it disappears February. And they get sent a letter that says you never reconciled. You never actually filed your taxes and showed us what your income was. So we're taking the tax credit away. That was turned back on. They didn't do that during COVID. So there's lots of people who never filed their taxes and never actually reconciled the tax credit. It's now coming back. So if that happens, you have to tell your client, I cannot get you a tax credit till you file your taxes. You have to file your taxes. Because if we didn't have to file our taxes, I would list everybody's income at the bottom so we don't get these wonderful CSRs. And they go, oh yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah, that makes sense. If they've done their taxes and they owe, just say, did you set up a payment plan? If you set up a payment plan, the IRS will be happy and we can still get tax credit, but let's make sure we have the correct income. I sign all my stored taxes, that from that form doctor. They're actually stored on Form Doctor, but we download them and we attach them to our CMS. Our forms are fillable. You can use them for DocuSign. I don't really like DocuSign. Too many people don't know how to use it. I live in a very blue collar area, so for us texting is much easier, but we've used DocuSign for years. I mean, that's how I've been sending it out till we decided to jump on the texting bandwagon, and we still email it out. So we do send out fillable docs. If they filed an extension, that's fine. You know, it hasn't been reconciled yet, but they've done the taxes. They've actually talked to the IRS. They haven't just not done anything. So you'll get a letter. I mean, your client will call you going, my insurance is $1,000. And you're like, oh, that's really weird. That means the tax credit went away. You can go see the form that was sent to them. And it will say, because I had this happen to a client, his tax accountant lost his mind and never actually filed anything. And he had to kind of find it. It was horrible. This guy, like, I mean, I don't know, he ghosted so many people. It was bad. He literally lost his mind. I think he was put into the same asylum or something. It was bad. And hundreds of clients, and he just disappeared with all their forms. So make sure you keep copies of your forms. And so he had to find all those forms and refile. And then the good news is, I said, no, if you can afford to pay it, I know it's expensive, but if you can just pay February and March and get this reconciled, you're gonna get it back at tax time. Because we did put in the correct amount at $30,000 and you paid $1,000 for your insurance. If you can do this, you will get it back at tax time. So, you know, it's not gone, it's not lost. So that's kind of it. We are at the 11:02, top of the hour. I will send out the recording as soon as I can, either today or tomorrow. I will attach all the forms I showed you, plus the attestation form. I know I didn't show it to you. I do not have a affiliation with Form Doctor. I just really like them. They were affordable and easy, and they, like I said, they worked with us. So we just like, hey, instead of me trying to edit your form, can you just take this fillable form? Because I sent them my fillable form and said, can you just make this? And they did, and it's brilliant, and it looks just like my form. So I like Form Doctor. If you're using JotForm, I think, or whatever, there's lots out there. But make this simple. Use smart technology to make your life easier. Walmart partners sent out an email with the list of Walmart Medicare agent stores. Does that mean that there isn't supposed to be a Medicare agent in the stores not listed? Correct. So quick little thing, if you're a part of that. So yes. I don't know if JotForm's HIPAA compliant. I did Form Doctor because it is. And I know there's some others. Form Doctor was created for doctors, chiropractors and acupuncturists and stuff, and so that they can send out appointments. But I've heard that it is, I've heard it's not. I don't know, you know, talk to those companies, you know. Oh, there you go, Marshall. There is a HIPAA compliant JotForm. It's just going to cost you more. Again, I don't know what the rates are. I don't even know what I pay for Form Doctor, but I know it was pretty inexpensive. And I don't know if Sam, my assistant's on here, or anybody else from the team, but they'll tell you 100% worth it. And it's pretty affordable. I mean, it really was. And it's so easy. Oh, it's so easy. I'm like, oh my goodness, why haven't I been doing this? You know, when you finally embrace a new technology, you kind of go, why didn't I do this so long ago? So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it again. 2 more meetings. If anybody's interested, you still have time before open enrollment to go through my classes. I can send that information out as well. Just on there, again, this is free. It's not for anything. You don't have to take my classes, but I do a much more deep dive. You can take all of the courses, or if there's just one course you want, you're like, hey, you know what, you keep talking about this, you know, this particular topic, and I see you have a course on it, you can just do that. Again, thank you so much. Talk to you all next week. Have a wonderful week and reach out. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm going to end the recordings. There we go.